Your self-worth is literally the one thing that changes everything. The one thing that changes everything. And so often we think, whether it's in relationships, that we need to, do all the work to understand every detail of them to make them stronger. And that's true. That stuff really, really helps to understand at a granular level, how do you become a great friend or a great partner in a relationship? And all of that work's important. But underneath it all, if you don't also do the work of self-worth, of believing you are worthy of great friendships, of great relationships, then you will always sabotage them, or you will always do something to either never go for them, to never ask the person, do you want to be friends, and invest in that friendship as an adult, or you'll never tell the person you want to be more than friends in the relationship, or you somehow will hold back from showing up as the person you can be in that relationship, if underneath it all, you don't believe you're worthy of a really, really great relationship. We'll sabotage it. We'll either never go for it, or in some other way, we'll make sure it cools down to the level of our self-worth. Similarly, in business, in your career, your ambitions, the business you're launching out there into the world. So often we think, I just don't have enough experience yet, or I don't have, the right skill set yet, or the right connections, or the right mentor, all those kind of things. At the end of the day, when deep down inside you believe you're worthy of launching the business, of taking that business to new heights, of being an incredible leader, an incredible CEO, incredible boss, right? It's only by believing you're worthy of it that you'll literally go to that level. This is the one thing that literally changes everything. And so it is important to invest in building a skill set and building attributes and strengths and experiences and all of that. But the most important thing is to build strong self-worth underneath all of it, so that you have the foundation of your own identity. So there's a classic example that has been used for a zillion years in personal development, and it correlates your identity to the example of a thermostat, right? So you probably have heard this example, but it's important when you look at it through the lens of self-worth. So you may have heard a number of thought leaders talk about how we all have our own internal thermostat, right? That's like an automatic one. When you imagine walking into a room, maybe in your house or your office right now, maybe you have an automatic thermostat on the wall, and if you have it set at 75 degrees, and if all of a sudden things heat up in that room, what happens? That thermostat kicks in, lowers the temperature back down, right, to 75. Meanwhile, if things just get freezing cold in that room, it's gonna kick in and raise the temperature back up to 75. And so the classic example that so many thought leaders have shared is really applicable when it comes to self-worth and your identity. Because let's say you set your self-worth, you believe you're worthy, you believe you're worth 75. Okay, that's the level of your self-worth. That's your identity right now, deep internal identity. Well, then when things go really, really right in your business or your relationships or your friendships or your goals and dreams, and all of a sudden it's on fire, it's a 90, but underneath it you only believe you're worthy of 75, your thermostat kicks in. It sabotages the relationship. It doesn't call that person back. It doesn't show up and put your ideas out into the world. You work less hard, procrastination, feeling stuck. And before you know it, that 95 is back down to a 75. Similarly, if things are just going awful and they're really bad, they're down there to 50, when you believe you're a 75, you'll figure out, okay, what moves do I need to make? What efforts do I need to put in to get back up to that 75? Here's the thing, and I talk about this, I go deep in the master class inside of Worthy on how do you take that number, that 75 and raise it. How do you raise your internal level of identity and self-worth? Because you will not soar to the level of your goals and dreams. You will stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. It is the one thing that truly transforms everything in your life. And the book, which you can pre-order now, you get lots of bonuses with it. There's over 20 tools in this book, which is why I wrote it, because in my life, there are so many things where I didn't realize, why did I stay stuck? Why did I sabotage that thing? Why didn't I go to the next level? Like when I know in my soul I can. right? It's because when we don't believe we're worthy of it, every day, all day, we will sabotage it. We will stay stuck. We won't go for it because we have our level of identity right there at a 75. You know what I mean? And so if you can relate to this, the very first step is just become aware. Today, all I want you to do, in addition to ordering worthy, because we're going to go through a lot of trainings together on how to do this as well, but I deep dive into it. But the trainings are part of a bonus when you grab it, when you pre-order the book. But what I really want you to do right now too is just become aware of it. Just become aware and be like, what do I believe my own internal identity is around self-worth? And how does that manifest in my life? What have I sabotaged? And think about all the areas of your life. What areas have I stayed stuck in and I don't know why? Like maybe you know you have a book inside of you or an idea and you don't know why you haven't written it. Or you have this big idea you want to share in that, team meeting tomorrow. And every time there's an opportunity, you don't share it. Because we will not rise to the level of our goals and dreams. We will stay stuck at the level of our self-worth. So for now, just start to think about the areas of your life and how this impacts it. I love you. I believe in you. And by the way, the best thing is we can raise that number. I know it because I've done it. We can raise that number. Okay? That is the most exciting part.
Do you still have any struggles with this stuff, like to this day? Because stuff I teach people how to get better at, most of the time it's still stuff that I'm working on myself and I struggle. So does Jamie Kern Lima still struggle to this day with her worthiness?
Every single day, and a little less every single day. I think it's a lifelong journey. And here's a huge breakthrough that I'm going to share. First on your show. I've never spoken about this before, but it is powerful. It's changed my life. There is a massive difference between self-confidence and self-worth.
What's the difference? Okay,
so here's the thing. And y'all, when I had this breakthrough and really started doing the work here, it changed everything in my life. So self-confidence, right? It's deeply internal, of course. It's a trait, but it is most closely linked with external things. So, the willingness to try, the confidence to try, the willingness to go for it, how you assess things on the outside, meaning how you assess your strengths, your skills, how you compare to others, right? Your self-confidence you build, and it's super, super important, but it is most closely linked to things that can fluctuate, that aren't always in your control, right? Like there's the boxer story about how, the boxer that wins is automatically 20% more, a better boxer because all of a sudden they believe they are, right? But all of a sudden if that guy loses or that woman loses, 3 or 4 times in a row, their self-confidence can fluctuate. And your self-worth is deeply internal. It's believing you are enough exactly as you are. You are enough. You are valuable. You're worthy exactly as you are. It's deeply internal and it doesn't fluctuate based on external things. Now, here's the big breakthrough. You can be, so for anyone listening, right, I'm going to get fired up. I'm going to jump out of the seat. Jump out of the seat. For anyone listening right now, if you are someone who is like, okay, when this thing finally happens, then I'm going to be enough. When I finally get married or have the kids, or I finally hit 7 figures in my business, or 8 figures, or 9 figures, or 10 figures, when I finally get my 6-pack, when I finally, right? And then you get that thing and it's like, okay, it's great for a minute.
Yes.
But it's never quite enough.
Yes.
It's because you have built confidence. You have built confidence in that journey. Now you have confidence in your body and your 6-pack. Now you have confidence in your business, but your self-worth has not changed. And there are so many people, and this is me most of my entire life, where I thought if I achieve enough, I'll finally feel enough. Yeah. If I accomplish this thing, if I build $1 billion business, if I feel confident in a swimsuit, whatever it is, then I'll finally feel enough. But you can have all the confidence in the world and you will not be fulfilled if you do not have strong self-worth. And that is huge because...
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Can I just say something? Wow. You just described me. Yeah. Like even now.
Yeah.
That is awesome what you just flipping said right there. Holy smokes. Because you and I talk all the time. You've never said that to me before. Whoa. So sorry, you guys. So I just want to say this to you. I have really built a lot of self-confidence, but I don't know that I built that much self-worth. And so it is why I haven't enjoyed a lot of the successes that I've had.
Me
And to
too.
the extent that I have, and you too.
Yeah.
Man, you are on there. Do you think the self-worth thing for most people is, not all of it, but do you think a lot of it is shaped in childhood from experiences? Because I know, being raised by an alcoholic, it's pretty hard to have a lot of self-worth, right? Because I don't think my dad had self-worth. And I think, I don't want to assume everybody knows this. Tell them a little bit about your childhood. And do you think a lot of this is shaped self-worth early in our lives? I know there could be an event later where you're like, I just lost all my self-worth. He left me, or I went bankrupt, or she cheated on me, or whatever it might be. But I do think a lot of it can come from childhood.
It can. It's also, though, reinforced our whole life. We're in a culture that rewards when you do things that get external applause. They're almost always tied to confidence or productivity or things that are external. And we grow up believing that if we do those things, we'll be happy. Every single, commercial or ad, or most companies are based on you achieving an emotion if you get this thing, but it's almost always external. And then we're raised by families often, whether they're well-intended, healthy or not. We've never learned this. We've never learned this.
Where did you get this distinction from?
Huge breakthrough, actually, over a really mortifying, embarrassing story I've never shared before, that has to do with Oprah. And by the way, Ed, I want to say this is something I believe affects everybody. I think that, if you really, I don't want to get too granular here because we'll be on for hours, but you think about, look at our country, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's something that we have to pursue. It's not like, we shouldn't innately be happy, right? There's so many things all around us. I don't want to get started. I didn't come here to look cute today. Let's go. I'm like fired up. But here's the thing. There's so many things all around us that tell us if we finally get the thing, if we finally are, whatever, then we'll be happy. And I believe a couple things. I believe you need both self-worth and self-confidence, right? Just because you have self-worth and believe you're enough as you are doesn't mean you're now complacent and you're like just chilling, because that's not a recipe for fulfillment either. But if you do not have self-worth, you will never be truly fulfilled, no matter how much you accomplish. So you need both, right? So you need both of those things. And this is why I wrote Worthy, and it's why it's such a breakthrough, because for anyone out there who does not feel like they're enough, and maybe you're really good at hiding it because you are crushing it in every area of your life, or you're just really good at being the strong one, or whatever it might be. But I believe that deep lack of internal worthiness is why nothing ever feels enough. It's why we don't feel enough. It's why we finally get that big thing and then we're not happy or fulfilled. Or it's why we sabotage things in our life because we don't believe we're worthy of them. And so how this happened for me is, my whole life, I grew up watching Oprah in my living room. And that was sort of like, my whole life, I thought one day, I am going to interview other people and share their stories with the world. And I just always knew. And I had this knowing that made no sense, but I just knew I would meet her. I just knew it. And I was like this little girl in a suburb in Washington State.
Like everybody else was, right?
Yeah, like exactly.
Yeah.
And when I eventually went, it's a long story that I'll cut because I want to get to the point of it. But I eventually met her at one of her live events backstage. And after meeting her, I wrote her a very long email. And through sheer grace, it got forwarded and she eventually got it. And long story short, she invited me to lunch at her house. So this is, I'm cutting through a lot of how this happened. But I had lunch with Oprah at her home.
Look how you just said that. I had lunch with Oprah. Did you hear though? She just said, just so you know, this little girl who's adopted, who's watching her on television, ends up, you just knew, but now I'm invited. I mean, put yourself in this position, everybody, whoever your hero is, and that Oprah was your hero for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Your hero is now inviting you to lunch because that part of it matters because of the rest of the story, what happens afterwards. So now you're going to go see Oprah. Go ahead.
Yes, I know you're one of the few people on the planet that knows the story, so I'm share it for the first time. And honestly, it's embarrassing, but sometimes the biggest struggles or setbacks or mortifying moments or pain we go through is like not a setback. It's really a setup for what we're supposed to do. And and this certainly was for me. So I end up going to Oprah's house, literally shaking in my boots. But also, I was in this moment in my life. This was about 5 or 6 years ago, super confident. I was so confident. I had just, my company was exploding and I was so proud of, impacting millions and millions of women and trying to change the definition of beauty in the industry and all these things. And I was really self-confident and also, of course, crazy nervous to meet her and really actually sit down and we had lunch for several hours, just me and her. And at the very end of lunch at her house, she wrote down her cell number. She gave me her cell phone number and said, call me anytime, just like that. And I left and I did not call her for 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't call her for 4 years. And when we talk about sabotaging something, right? Yeah. And anyone out there who has done this in some area of their life, in a relationship, a friendship, a career move, whatever it might be, this was like, for me, the person that, my whole life, and now I have her cell phone number. Right. For 4 years, I would tell myself things like, oh, you know what? Like, I don't have the right thing to say yet, but when I get the right thing, then I'm going to call her. Or, oh, everyone always wants something from her, right? I'd make up this story. I'd tell myself, everyone always wants things from her. I want to make sure she knows I don't want things from her. I'm here for real, true friendship, so I'm not going to bug her. Or I would always tell myself these versions of why I wasn't calling her. And 4 years went by.
It's incredible.
And I had this huge epiphany. I was like, oh, I'm not calling Oprah because deep down inside, I don't think I'm worthy of being her friend.
In spite of all your success.
Yep. So at that moment, I realized this was a huge breakthrough because I realized, oh, I have a lot of self-confidence, but not self-worth.
Gosh, Jamie.
And you can have one without the other. And it's why when you keep accomplishing things or you keep, the thing finally happens, you finally, get that dream relationship, you finally have the kids or you finally have the breakthrough in your business. But you're like, why am I not happy? Why am I not fulfilled? Why isn't it not enough? Huge breakthrough for me. And when I realized it, A, I was super embarrassed, but B, I realized that is my head, my own self-doubt, my own lack of self-worth telling me these things. But in my soul, I know I am definitely worthy of being her friend because I'm a kick-ass friend. Like I'm a ride.
You're an unbelievable friend.
I'm like, I am a ride or die friend. Like so I'm like, I know in my soul I'm worthy of being her friend. And that was the moment I decided to call her.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
Self-confidence and self-worth are completely different. We so easily confuse the two, and understanding the difference is literally the one thing that will change everything in your life. There are so many of us, myself included, who have actually done so much great work to build self-confidence. But then we sabotage things, we stay stuck, we don't get what we want because we don't realize, oh, I have a whole lot of self-confidence, but I actually don't have strong self-worth. And they're very different. They're very, very different. So self-worth is truly the one thing that can change everything in your life. In your life, your relationships, your goals, your dreams, your ambitions, your amount of joy and fulfillment. So in Worthy, which is all about, how to believe you're enough and transform your life, there's simple steps that give life-changing results. There is an entire chapter called The One Thing That Changes Everything. And I break down, and I'm going to share right now in this video as well, but I go deep in here on breaking down the difference between self-confidence and self-worth. Both are important, but so many of us literally live our entire lives just building self-confidence. And then we never realize, why don't we feel like we're enough? We keep accomplishing more and more and more, and we finally do enough and have enough and become enough and all that, but we still don't feel like we're enough. It's because of not understanding the difference, and it's because of doing all the things that build self-confidence, but none of the things that build self-worth. So let me just break this down for a minute because this is so important, okay? Self-confidence, while an internal trait, is actually based on so much happening around you externally, and it fluctuates all the time. Self-confidence, while an internal trait, is based on so much externally. So your self-confidence right now is based on things like your own assessment of your skills and abilities, your willingness to try and go for it. if you keep the promises you make to yourself, how you feel you stack up or compare to others, how much of the world's definition of success you believe you have. All those things impact your self-confidence. It can rise and fall quickly based on if you're winning or losing, right? There's studies that show the boxer who wins the match is automatically 30% more confident, right? Your confidence fluctuates. It's fragile. It's volatile. Your self-worth is the deep internal belief and knowing that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Not as you achieve, not as what's happening all around you in the outside world, but knowing you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Another way to put this is self-confidence is your belief in your abilities as a person. Self-worth is your belief in your value as a person. Your self-worth is the foundation. Your self-confidence is the house you build upon it. But you'll only ever be as strong as the foundation that house is built upon. And here's what this looks like in our lives, right? So many of us, let me just ask you this question right off the top. Have you ever had something you really wanted, and you thought, if I eventually get that thing, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be fulfilled. Then I'll feel enough. Maybe it is a job title, or it's a certain number in the bank account, or it's, 6-pack abs, a certain goal weight. Maybe it is, running the triathlon or doing the triathlon. Maybe it's getting the white picket fence or getting married or, falling in love or having 2.5 kids. Have you ever wanted that thing and just thought, one day when I get that, then I'll finally feel happy and fulfilled? And then for so many of us, we've had those things and then we get the thing, right? For some of us, we work really, really hard for years and we finally get the thing. And let me ask you this, when you finally got the thing, then what happened? Were all your hopes and dreams did they miraculously happen? Were you happy and fulfilled and enough forever? Or did you feel this temporary high followed by a slow descent back to feeling like something's missing and like you don't know what's missing, but you just feel like you're not enough and something's missing from your life? Okay, here's why. It's because in the pursuit of all those things, you built a whole lot of self-confidence, but none of those things build self-worth. Self-confidence is really, really important in life, as is growth, always growing in one area or another, as is contributing to something greater than yourself. Those three things are really important, but you multiply all those by your level of self-worth to get your level of ultimate fulfillment in life. Building strong self-worth is truly the one thing that changes everything. It's why I wrote Worthy. There's over 20 tools in here on how to build strong self-worth. Because here's the deal. When you don't, and by the way, there have been so many times in my life where I had so much confidence and I didn't understand why I didn't feel enough, or I didn't understand why I sabotaged an opportunity, or I didn't understand why I stayed stuck and didn't put my art or my ideas or my full expression of my business out there. It's because we will not, over time, we will not perform to the level of our potential. We will plateau at the level of our self-worth. Every time, over time. Every time, over time. It's why you've seen people out there in the world that can achieve everything, have every level of what the world defines success as, fame, fortune, whatever it might be. And they're not happy. And they're not happy, right? Strong self-worth is literally the one thing that changes everything. And if you are wondering if this is an issue in your life, there's really 3 ways that low self-worth can show up, right? One, if we have really, really, really low self-worth, we'll stay stuck. We'll know we have great ideas or we're deserving of an amazing romantic relationship, but we'll stay stuck in one that's not good for our soul. And we don't realize it's because we don't fully feel we're worthy of a great relationship, right? We'll stay stuck and not go after the thing. We'll stay stuck and not write the first word of our book that we know we're born to write. We'll just stay stuck and never go for the thing because we don't believe we're worthy of it. We don't realize that's what it is, but that's so often what it is. So that's one way of staying stuck, right? Another way is if we have, a little bit more self-worth, maybe low self-worth, we'll actually go for things and then we'll sabotage them. We'll meet a really incredible potential partner and we'll somehow mess it up or put them in the friend zone. We literally sometimes just aren't even attracted to them and we don't know why, even though they're a great person. It's because when deep down inside we have low self-worth, we don't believe we're worthy of it. Or we'll go after a big opportunity and we'll be so confident doing it and then we'll just somehow sabotage it. And then if you have medium self-worth, but it's not quite high, you'll actually go for things. You'll accomplish them, right? You may even believe you're worthy of them. But if you only have medium level self-worth, you'll arrive at them and still feel like you're not enough. You'll still feel empty inside. There's so many people in marriages or in, incredible situations in their career where they feel like something's missing, like it's not enough. And they don't know what it is. So they think it's their partner or they think it's their job, right? What it is deep down inside, they haven't done the work to build strong, unshakable self-worth. Your self-worth is the one thing that literally changes everything. So step one is to be aware of the difference between self-confidence and self-worth. Your self-worth is your unremitting identity and your belief that you are enough exactly as you are. And by the way, when you learn to believe you're enough exactly as you are, it doesn't prevent you from being ambitious. It actually gives you more ambition because you're not afraid to fail because it doesn't impact your self-worth. You're not afraid to put yourself out there to go for things, even if you fall flat on your face, because that might hurt your confidence for a minute, but it does not determine your self-worth. Your self-worth is deep, it's internal, it's unwavering. It's why I wrote Worthy, because literally when you learn to build your self-worth, there's over 20 tools in here on how to do it. It is the one thing that transforms everything.
I'm going to do a sneak peek read from a chapter of Worthy, How to Believe You Are Enough and Transform Your Life. Simple steps, life-changing results. Dedication. For the 80% of women who don't believe they're good enough. The 75% of female executives who face imposter syndrome. And the 91% of women who don't love their bodies. This book is for you. The time for change has come. Let's do this together. No girl, no woman, no person left behind. Worthy starts here. You become what you believe you're worthy of. Do you remember the first time, perhaps as a little kid, sitting in the classroom, that you knew the answer but decided not to raise your hand? With a slight pit in your stomach caused by the newly daunting awareness of other people's opinions, you debated raising your hand and going for it until you decided not to. And just like that, in a single moment, you began to live in a way that was incongruent with your soul's fullest expression. You doubted. You held back. You hid. You played it safe. You questioned whether you were wrong, even though you knew you were right. You questioned if you were smart enough. You questioned if you were enough. And now, fast forwarding to today, are you still the person who's not raising your hand when you know the answer? Are you still hiding? Just in case you're wrong, just in case you fail, or because you want to stay in your comfort zone of certainty. Now you're an adult who knows the answer, but inside, are you still that same little kid who doubts it? Maybe you're sitting silently in work meetings or in your daydreams, knowing you have a wild idea that just might be genius. Or are you languishing in an unhealthy friendship or relationship, knowing you're worthy of more, but not quite believing it enough to leave? Or you're the boss, but you're holding back from taking chances because deep down inside, you're afraid you're not strong enough to be a leader. Did you finally get that big break, that big promotion, that big increase, but you feel like an imposter, so you're playing it small? Maybe you really despise that other PTA mom, but you betray yourself and spend your precious free time hanging out with her. Maybe you're hustling and burned out while hiding that what you really need is rest. Maybe you're struggling with a health issue and losing faith in your body, your worth, and your creator. Do you feel unseen at your core and tell yourself the lie that life is better that way? Maybe you're working in a business, but you know you're born to run one. Maybe you're in an intimate partnership where your worthiness goes unrecognized, but you're afraid to be alone, so you're dimming your light and hiding from your truth. Maybe you're calling busyness a badge of honor when you're really using it to numb your feelings. Maybe you've been living by someone else's story of success for you because you're confusing approval with love. I've done that most of my life. Maybe you've decided that other people have already done what you can do better than you could do it, so you've been canceling yourself out of your own calling. Or maybe you've been showing up as who the world tells you to be, people-pleasing for so long that you don't even remember who you are anymore. Self-doubt, unworthiness, and fear cause us to dim our soul's light and start playing it small, holding back, hiding, speaking only part of our truth, living only half of our life, expressing only part of our soul's true essence, craving the perception of belonging over authentic connection, craving validation and significance in a way that's defined externally, because we start to believe that these are the only paths to love, to belonging, and to worthiness. If any of these ring true for you, if you know at the deepest part of your being that you're only living as part of who you are, but you're holding back and doubting or hiding all of who you are, then you probably feel an inexplicable void in your life, an aching longing for something that's missing, an emptiness creating when others or even yourself don't know and therefore can't embrace the full authentic you. A disconnection from joy when no matter what you achieve, it doesn't bring the feeling of fulfillment you hoped it would. An unremitting feeling that you're not quite enough. A lack of feeling truly alive that you can disguise from the world with the ease of a smile. You're living your life hiding in plain sight. Okay, so maybe you're thinking like, whoa, we're going deep right off the top of the book. Yep, we're going there because your time is precious. And in this one beautiful life we each have, it's precious. And I'm not showing up to play small, especially because I'm going to ask you to show up fully in the pages to come. I wrote this book with the purest intention to give you everything I've got as an expression of love from my soul to yours. And each of us is on a journey toward believing, then truly knowing in every ounce of our being that we are fully worthy, right? And here's the thing, y'all, exactly as we are, that's the key part. We're fully worthy exactly as we are. This is one of the most critical parts of achieving what Oprah Winfrey powerfully describes as the highest, truest expression of ourselves. And it's a huge step on the personal evolution of believing, then knowing that you, exactly as you are enough, valuable, and fully worthy of love and belonging. And you are. There's nothing that you have done or could ever do that changes that. But let's go there later because chances are if you're anything like I've been most of my entire life, you might not believe me just quite yet. Speaking of Oprah, and speaking of hiding in plain sight, I want to share one of the greatest moments of my life. A moment that almost didn't happen, and one that came after 4 years of me hiding because I didn't actually believe I was worthy of it. Oprah was my mentor from afar, the one I spent every weekday as a little girl, then later as an adult watching on TV. The one I dreamt of meeting my entire life and had this wild knowing deep inside that somehow I actually would. Quote, "This is what I know 100% for sure," Oprah said as she held up my first book, Believe It, to the camera. "You don't become what you want. You become what you believe." Y'all, I did everything in my power to keep my jaw from dropping open. She's holding in my book. To my jaw from dropping open, not to pee my pants, and to believe that this moment was real and was actually happening. You see, it almost didn't happen. In fact, many of the most significant moments in my life almost never happened because for years, while my soul dreamed wildly big, bold dreams and imagined moments like this one with Oprah, I never thought they could actually happen because I didn't believe I was worthy of them ever actually happening. In fact, maybe you can relate to this. I have spent most of my life feeling like I wasn't enough and doubting myself out of my own destiny. No matter how vividly we visualize our goals and dreams, perhaps in relationships or in our careers or in our health, no matter if we even take action toward making them happen, if deep down inside we actually don't feel like we're deserving or worthy of those dreams and goals, then we won't achieve them. We'll stay stuck and never go for them. We'll talk ourselves out of them. We'll give up too soon or somehow sabotage them along the way. With some, but not strong self-worth, we might actually allow ourselves to feel worthy enough to achieving a big goal and dream. But when we do, we'll arrive shortly after still feeling empty, unfulfilled, and like something is missing. Has this ever happened to you? If you've ever experienced a sense of not enoughness, even if you know it's a lie, because it is, and you want to overcome it for good, this book is for you. If not enoughness feels like, your hidden twin, then we might just be long lost triplets. If you struggle with self-doubt and not feeling worthy, even if no one knows it but you, this book is for you. And I believe that one of the bravest and most important journeys that we are all on in this lifetime is learning the truth, which is that we are more than enough and knowing and believing it in every part of our being. If this resonates with you, I've got your book and I've got your back. See, I believe the moment you learn to trust yourself, and believe that you are worthy is the moment your entire life, the past and future generations of your family, and our entire world changes for the better. It's only when you believe you are worthy of it, whether it's of having a healthy relationship, of receiving unconditional love, of celebrating your body, of sharing your ideas, of being in the room, of being on the stage, of leading the team, of having soul-filling friendships, or of living out your biggest hopes and wildest dreams, that your greatest life and destiny start to unfold. It is truly only when you learn to believe you are worthy of it. So y'all, here's the thing. As Oprah held up my book, I tried desperately to be present and stay in my body and to focus on the thousands of people watching us live as she and I taught the class together called The Life You Want. Please help me serve at the highest level I can. I prayed over and over because I've learned over the years that having an intention that's bigger than myself is the only way to get out of my own head. Before she even held up my book, I was already struggling to believe that I was actually teaching a class with the person I consider my mentor my entire life. It was the first time that she and I had ever done anything professional together. What Oprah and I knew, which the live audience didn't know that day, is that nearly 5 years earlier, when I met her in person for the first time and we had lunch together shortly after, she gave me her personal phone number. And you want to know what I did? I didn't call her for almost 4 years. Yep, Oprah, the one person I would have done anything to meet, the person I spent thousands of afternoons as a little girl watching from my living room all alone, the person who inspired much of my career, had given me her direct cell number, and I didn't call her for 4 years. Why? Well, I thought I knew why for a long time. See, as the months, then years passed, I told myself stories that made sense. Stories like, you're not ready to call her yet. Or, everybody probably wants something from her. Play it cool so she knows you don't. Or, you don't have the perfect thing to say yet. When you do, you'll know, and then it'll be time to call her. Or if she gets to know you, this is a big one that I told myself so many times, if she gets to know you, she'll discover you're not as interesting, smart, funny, successful, cool, talented as she might think you are. Until one day, I realized the real reason I hadn't called Oprah, and I wasn't proud of it. I hadn't called her yet because deep down inside, I didn't believe I was worthy of it. I did not believe I was worthy of being her friend. Have you ever had moments like this in your life where you sabotaged an opportunity? Or didn't go for it at all because you didn't think you had what it takes? Maybe this is a reoccurrent theme for you in your life right now. And if it is, you're far from alone. I believe one of the most prevalent forms of cancel culture is one that no one talks about. It's us canceling ourselves before we even try. When I realized the real reason I hadn't called Oprah in 4 years, I felt a knowing. Feeling unworthy was not aligned with who I truly am and with the person I was created to be. See, my soul, all of our souls know. My soul knew I was worthy, but I let my thoughts and my mind's deep belief about my own unworthiness overpower my soul's knowing. Without realizing it, I was letting my feelings of unworthiness sabotage something I had dreamed of my entire life. When I had this realization almost 4 years after the day I got her number, I decided it was time to turn down the volume on my doubting mind and turn up the volume on the power of my soul and my soul's knowing. I decided to trust myself, the part that knows that I am worthy and you are too, and I dialed her number. I'll share more about this call later, but first, fast forward to May 2022, when I was teaching the class live alongside Oprah. I had been preparing tirelessly for months for this opportunity, but like all of our biggest moments in life, we've really been preparing our entire lives for them, right? Whether we know it or not. Because as Oprah teaches, and I fully believe every step, this is important to hear, y'all, and take this in, every step, failure, victory, mishap, trauma, growth, blessing, lesson, and moment of grace has always been happening for us to prepare us so we can show up in each coming moment exactly as we're destined to. Even our setbacks are almost always setups for the path we're destined to take. As the live class began, I led the Oprah Daily audience through live exercises on how to build resilience, embrace rejection, stop hiding, and to learn to confidently step into all of who they are. Oprah and I shared stories and teachings. I was in such a state of flow that it felt like I was moving inside a space that had been divinely orchestrated. Then as Oprah held up my book again, and I tried not to fall out of my chair again, she said something that sent shockwaves that felt like truth through my body. Words that I believe capture the ultimate path so many of us are on, and even if we haven't discovered it yet. Words that capture why I wrote that book, and even more powerfully, why I wrote this one. Words I believe that if we embrace can change the course of our entire lives. She said, "You don't become what you want. You can have the greatest heart desire and work really so hard, but if you don't believe you are worthy, it will not come." That is the magic formula. In my life, I have learned to believe I'm worthy in stages, through ups and downs, big moments of knowing, and small steps toward believing. In our human experience, believing our worthiness is often a lifelong pursuit, and one of the most important ones we'll ever take. See, if I hadn't pursued building my self-worth, many of the moments in my life story so far would have never happened. The stories that the press loves to share about me usually say something like, Denny's waitress builds billion-dollar business. And while that's true, my real story is a girl who didn't believe in herself and learned how to. A girl who felt unworthy and often still does to this day, but who is hell-bent on learning to believe that she is. A girl who was placed into adoption at birth, but decided she was chosen and born not only on purpose, but with purpose. A girl who knows in her soul that at our core, we're all enough and we're all worthy of love. I'm a girl who knows that where we come from does not have to determine where we're going, and that making bad decisions in our past doesn't mean that we're bad. A girl who knows that the labels that others put on us and the ones that we put on ourselves are removable, not permanent. A girl who faced thousands of rejections for years when she was building her business, but chose to trust her gut and keep going anyways. A girl who had a knowing she'd one day meet Oprah and then learned that we become what we believe when we finally believe in ourselves. A girl who had learned that she was worthy of being in the room, of launching a business, of being called CEO, of learning not to wait on her weight, of learning to love herself and learning to believe she's worthy of love. A girl who knows that we are not our past mistakes. We are our present and future intentions. Here's what I know to be true. And this is so important to take this in. If we don't believe we are worthy of starting the business, of being in a loving, committing relationship, of having healthy, empowering friendships, if we don't believe we're worthy of a seat at the table, of writing the book, of running for office, if we don't believe we're worthy of rest, of celebrating your body exactly as it is, of soul care, of doing less and being more, if we don't believe we're worthy of showing up on social media authentically, of leading the team, of breaking the generational cycle, if we don't believe we're worthy because we've made too many mistakes, we've already failed too many times, or because someone told us we weren't worthy and we believe them, if we don't believe we're worthy of all the things we want and deserve, we'll never get them. In life, you don't soar to the level of your hopes and dreams. You stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. You don't rise to what you believe is possible. You fall to what you believe you're worthy of. In your goals and career ambitions, you don't achieve everything that you are qualified for or capable of. You plateau at what you believe you deserve. And whether you know it or not, at the level of success where you've established your own internal identity. In your romantic relationships, the level and depth of intimacy, vulnerability, and love can only be as strong as the level and depth of vulnerable, intimate love you have for yourself. It's the same with your friendships. And in these relationships in life, okay, here's a big one, y'all. This is, okay. In your relationships in life, the level of pain you allow another person to cause you, whether it's through hurtful words or actions, often hovers right around the standards you have for the level and frequency of hurtful thoughts, ways, and words you think and say to yourself. And it's the same with your body. Your body can feel like a source of shame or like a miracle in motion, all depending on your relationship with worthiness. When you change what you believe you're worthy of, you change your entire life. See, we can have big goals and dreams. We can study, get knowledge, get all the biggest degrees on the wall. We can become activists, use our voices. We can know with passion and clarity that what we believe in and what we believe for. We can make vision boards, and we can even distinguish ourselves amongst the rare group of people who actually take action toward getting what we want in life. But if we don't believe deep down inside we're worthy of it, it'll never happen. Or if it does, we won't be able to sustain it. Because in life, we don't get what we want. We get and maintain what we believe we're worthy of. And when deep down inside, we don't believe we're worthy of what we want, hope, and dream for, we'll find a way to lose it or for it to not happen at all. We'll sabotage the opportunity. We'll put the decent guy in the friend zone. We'll ghost a new friend that has pure intentions. We'll make a million excuses why we're not ready to make a career move, don't have the resources or the time or the talent. We'll focus on our problems instead of our potential, because problems can be an easy way to justify playing life small. We might think we have a net worth problem, and what we really have is a self-worth problem. And when we deep down inside don't believe we're worthy of abundance, we sabotage ourselves to make sure that we don't get it. We dim our light to make others feel comfortable and fit in. We tell ourselves stories like, once I get to my goal weight, then I'll be enough. Once I get more experience, then I'll apply for the promotion. Once I get the kids through school, then I'll focus on building a healthy relationship. We'll sit in the audience watching, all while knowing we are born to be on the stage. We'll walk into the room and all while hiding in plain sight, and then we'll start living our lives this way. We'll talk ourselves out of our potential, out of our talent, out of our knowing, out of trusting ourselves, out of our gifts, out of the relationships we deserve, out of getting unstuck, out of making our health a priority, out of asking for the raise, out of launching the idea, out of accepting a mentor's offer, and if we're not careful, out of becoming the person that we're born to be. If one of these examples hits home for you or you feel like it's a past or present version of yourself, then this book is for you. If you struggle with not believing you're enough or worthy of walking into the big meeting, of being called good parent, of wearing this swimsuit, of receiving unconditional love, of looking in the mirror and seeing everything beautiful, of speaking up, of asking for help, of resting, of setting boundaries, of showing up in this world as you authentically are and as all of who you authentically are, if you struggle with that, this book is for you. I wrote this book for you if you have some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill. And I'm so honored to invite you into the pages of this journey together. And I'd like to start by imagining together. See, I can't help but imagine what our world would look like if it was filled with women who decided to believe they are worthy. When I imagine a world full of women who feel worthy, I imagine the earth shaking with the jolt of possibility when we wake up in the morning. Imagine with me, what would a world full of women who decided to believe they're worthy feel like? The potential that would be unleashed, the power of possibility unfolding. Imagine the generational cycles broken. Imagine the unhealthy relationships that would end. Imagine the businesses that would be launched. Imagine the body shapes and sizes that would be celebrated. Imagine the rest that would be taken without guilt. Imagine the cellulite that would be confidently jiggling with joy. Imagine the seats that would be filled up in the boardroom. Imagine what the list of Fortune 500 CEOs would look like. Imagine the mental and physical health that would be prioritized. Imagine how our government would lead. Imagine the injustices that would end. Imagine how children's storybooks would be written. Imagine who little girls would grow up dreaming of being. Imagine the time and capacity that would be freed up when self-doubt is silenced. Can I get an amen up in here? Amen. Imagine, and imagining this is why I wrote this book, with the intention of you not just imagining what your life would be like if you truly felt worthy, but actually learning how to believe you are, because you are. And in your soul, you know that you are. Most of us are born into a world or even into loving, well-intentioned families that, whether knowingly or not, teach us to believe that we're not. I believe if we choose to, it's possible to unlearn all the lies we've been taught that don't feel right in our soul, take our power back, and decide today is the day to forge a new path ahead. If you feel me, say out loud wherever you are, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
All right, everyone in the room said it, but don't think I didn't hear you at home not say it. So here's the deal. Listen, if you're not going to be bold here along with me, if you are going to hold back and not be bold, now how are you going to be bold out there, right, when things get hard? So I'm going to say it with you. We're going to say it loud together. Who cares what anyone around you right now thinks? Okay, ready? On the count of 3, we're going to say I'm ready loudly, and we're going to proclaim it together. 1, 2, 3. I'm ready. You don't become what you want. You become what you believe you're worthy of in life, in friendships, in your career, and in your hopes and dreams. And one of the greatest parts of your journey is learning to believe you're worthy and stop hiding, right? That's a big one for so many of us. Learning for the first time, or the first time in a long time, the courage to start raising your hand, or to be the person who leads and encourages others to raise their hand, to discover the true essence of your soul, the real you, and to start living as the real you, not as your achievements, but your innateness that is full and whole and enough. and blossoming toward a new freedom and fulfillment that springs alive when we live in alignment with the true nature of the person we're born to be. When we absolutely know in every ounce of our being that the person who we truly are is enough. When you venture to stop hiding in plain sight, trust your inner knowing, live with congruence with your soul, ignite your purpose, and show up in this world as all of who you are, that's when you truly feel fulfilled and alive. That's when you are living in alignment with your assignment. That is when you become the person you're born to be. That's when you're able to fully live and express the joy and the beauty and the gifts and the ideas and the possibilities of your soul. That's when you can wake up every morning and ask yourself one of life's most powerful questions. What will you do with the power that is you? And then with that power fully tapped into, and because you're no longer hiding from it, you bravely, boldly live the answer. Throughout the pages of this book, I hope you'll laugh, connect, see, and be exactly you every step of the way, right? We did not come here to play it small or to look cute. We're going to go deep as you are ready to go. You might feel like this book is too much at times, or perhaps it's going to feel like you arrived at the end way too quickly. We'll examine our own self-worth and delve into the lies keeping us doubting ourselves, unlearn those lies, and embrace the truths that wake up worthiness. We'll begin our transformation into living authentically and fulfilling our destinies. There's some chapters packed with tactical tools you can apply to your life right now that have led to breakthroughs for me, like how to redefine rejection, how to rethink the labels you put on yourself, and how to take risks when you have a million reasons why you're afraid to. There's some chapters you might find deeply personal and stir up a lot of thought and emotion, and some might evoke the feeling of heavy reflection. Others might spark joyful, wide-eyed, soul-filling delight. I know how precious the gift of your time is, and I can promise you we're not taking a second of it for granted in this book. I am all in with you, right by your side, and we are going to go there together, okay? Soul to soul, light to light, love to love. The one thing I'm going to ask of you is this: in every story, every lesson, every silly laugh out loud, embarrassing overshare, there are a lot of those. Every vulnerable, soul-stirring revelation, and every deeply challenging question, to trust yourself to know if it's right for you. And if it's not right for you, or you're not right to consider it, then just skip that part. And you're going to know, because your soul will know at each turn of the book, the parts that are for you at this moment in your journey. You'll know if the timing is, not right to open yourself up in certain ways that might feel too much. And you're going to know if the timing is just right, and the words feel like they were written exactly for you. You may want to have a journal or pen and paper handy while reading. And as we begin this journey together, I just want to ask that you trust yourself fully. Take the things that feel right for you and leave the rest perhaps for another day or another person you share your book with. And I sure hope that when you are done with Worthy, that you share it with another person, give another person your book. I believe in divine timing and that our steps are divinely ordered in life. And I don't believe it's a coincidence or an accident that you're hearing these words right now. Similarly, in this book, I'm leading you on an intentional journey, one transforming step at a time. Each chapter lays a key piece of the foundation that builds on the next, all crafting a deeply personal worthiness journey intended to expand how you see and unconditionally love yourself, from seeing the importance of and critical difference between self-confidence and self-worth, to unlearning those lies that lead to self-doubt and embracing the truths that wake up worthiness, to transforming your connection to yourself and multiplying your unconditional self-love, to knowing and truly believing in your innate value and worthiness. As we begin this journey, I want to invite you to come with me through the pages and it's who you truly are, not as the role you play at work, not as who you have to be when you're the leader in the room, not as who other people want you to be, not as the version of you that the world rewards, not as the socially conditioned belief systems that you've built, but as the person who sheds all of it, who is willing to show up soul first. Coming soul first, right along with me, is safe here. Knowing this truth, there is nothing you can do or say that could ever make you unworthy of love. I believe we are all here to love, to receive it, to give it, to live it, to be it. And our greatest journey on this earth is to learn how and to truly believe we're worthy of it. My intention in the pages of this book is that you experience the true feeling of home that fills your soul. And there's no greater feeling of home than living in alignment and congruence with your soul, with the true nature of who you are and who you were born to be, fully worthy. And yet, when we aren't living in the truest expression of our souls, it can feel like we're a stranger in our own lives, as if we're living our lives away from our real home. Our souls are our true home, and the words in this book are a love poem from my soul to yours. Let's live in our souls together on this journey. And as we get started, I want you to feel like I'm welcoming you right into my home. When I imagine opening my front door to see you, I will really see you. And you can really see me. And when you walk in, I'm wearing my favorite cozy sweats, no makeup, unwashed hair, and a messy bun, but I did use some dry shampoo because I knew you were coming. And I give you a great big hug while my dogs are jumping on you and kissing you as if they'd never gone through training school. I have your favorite warm drink in a coffee mug ready to greet you. The mug says worthy on it because you are. After I hand it to you, imagine seeing a sign right in front of you on the wall as you walk in. It's how I want you to feel when you walk into my home or into my hug. The sign says, "Come as you are. Heal where you need. Blossom what you choose. Journey toward your calling. Stay as long as you like. You belong here. You are worthy. You are loved. You are love. I love you, Jamie." Are you ready to get started? Because I am ready if you are. And as you are about to turn the page, I'm imagining reaching my hand right out to yours. Here we go.
When you change your relationship with rejection, you change your entire life. So many of us think, oh, if I just manifest things or pray for things or work really, really, really hard, then I'll get unstuck and I'll get the things I want in my life. And you can do all those things. And I do all of those. I pray, I manifest, right? I work really, really, really hard. But if deep down inside, you don't feel you're worthy of the thing, or you have this fear or this association of pain with the potential rejection, you'll stay stuck, even if you do all of those things. So it is so important to change your relationship with rejection and failure, change the meaning you attach to it so that it's not something that keeps you stuck. It's not something that holds you back. It's no longer something you associate pain with. It's something that you embrace. You go full speed ahead on, right? Because you can actually change the meaning and change your relationship with rejection and failure to one where you're like, you define it in a new way where you're fearless about it. I've learned how to do this. It is one of the most powerful things that you can do in your life. It's one of the most powerful things you can do when it comes to going after your hopes and your dreams and your goals and your ambitions. It's literally the one thing that can change everything. And so here's the deal. In Worthy, there is an entire master class on how to do this. It's there's over 20 tools on building unshakable self-worth in this book, because in life, we do not become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. So there's over 20 tools in here on how to build unshakable self-worth, but one of them is the longest chapter in the book. It was almost its entirely own book. I just didn't want to wait longer to get it into your hands. So we literally put it in Worthy as one of the tools because it is so powerful. But here's the deal. As human beings, every single one of us, we are wired to avoid pain at all costs. right? We're wired to avoid pain. It's how we've stayed alive forever. We're wired to avoid pain, even if we know if we do something, the potential outcome could be so positive, so pleasurable, all of that. We will still, if we associate pain with the thing, we'll still avoid it, right? So for a lot of us, it's why we know if we worked out every single day, we'd feel really good. We may hit our fitness goals. We may, all those things. But when we associate pain with working out, with going to the gym, with, moving our body, when we associate pain with it, even though we know the outcome could be amazing, for most people, we'll avoid it. We won't do it because we want to avoid the pain of, what we associate with working out. It's not dissimilar from our goals, from our dreams, from going after things. We know, oh, you know what? If I go for it, I might make it. It might happen. I might bring it to life. But then if we associate the pain of potential rejection and failure with going for the thing, it's one of the biggest reasons why we stay stuck. It's one of the biggest reasons why we don't go for things. It's one of the biggest reasons why. And here's the thing, y'all. When we have a lot of past failures and past rejections, right? Not only for a lot of us are they painful, but the biggest risk to this, if we don't change our relationship with rejection, the biggest risk to this is, I have so many past mistakes and failures, right? A lot of people see my story and they're like, oh, you built $1 billion business from your living room. Everything just happened for you like a fairy tale, right? It must have been easy. You must have got lucky. Let me just tell you, I went through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rejections over years, teetering on bankruptcy long before the company I started in my living room at Cosmetics became a household name and $1 billion company, right? But it was learning, how do I handle and manage and give meaning to the rejections as they are happening in my life? And learning to do this will change everything. So here's the thing, why this can be really dangerous. When you have so much pain associated with potential rejections or failures, right? Or with past rejections or failures, not only are you likely to stay stuck because you want to avoid that pain at all costs, not only are you likely to not go for things or to hesitate or to doubt yourself out of them, but for so many of us, this becomes a self-worth issue. Because if you have a lot of rejections and perceived failures in the past, sometimes our self-doubt starts to convince us we are a failure. And that's when it can take root at an identity level. And number one, that is a lie. I do not care how many past mistakes, how many past failures you've ever had. It literally does not mean you're a failure. And it does not mean you are unworthy or somehow unqualified or incapable of accomplishing your biggest dreams, your wildest dreams. It does not mean, if you've had past setbacks in your business, or maybe things haven't gone as well, or you've gone out there in the dating world and things just haven't gone your way. Your past is not an indication of your future. Your past does not have to determine your future unless you choose to live there, right? So our goal right now, and a huge reason why I wrote Worthy and why there is an entire masterclass in here on rejection. Because when we change our relationship with it, we change everything. So I'm going to take you through a framework right now on how to do this in your life. I go way deeper in the book, like deep in the book. But let's do this right now, just on a really cool, powerful level together. Because when you learn, right? So I kind of recapped how if you associate pain with rejection and failure, then you're likely going to just stay stuck. You're likely not going to put yourself out there, or you may not share your ideas at work just in case they're rejected. And you don't want the pain of that, right? You may not put your book out there in the world or show up authentically as who you truly are on social media. I mean, this impacts every area of our life. When we fear the potential of rejection or failure and we associate rejection and failure as being negative or painful, it will literally impact every area of your life. And here's the deal, y'all. Everything in life is the meaning we attach to it. Everything, right? So what if I told you you could associate a powerful, inspiring, empowering meaning with rejection or failure. You probably think like, I don't think so, Jamie. But I'm telling you right now, you can. You can. And I've learned to do it, and it's changed everything. Literally changed everything. I don't know, had I not learned to change my relationship with rejection and failure and literally see it every time it happens as something empowering and inspiring, and I'll tell you how to do it in a second, I could have never endured the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rejections that I went through for years, to finally turning those no's into yeses, to finally getting my products into stores, to finally getting people to give me a chance, to finally getting people to believe in me, right? And I could have never kept going because it would have been too painful. But I literally learned to attach positive meaning to rejection and failure when they happened, and it changed everything. So here's how you do it. I'm going to go through briefly the 4 R's in this framework. We go deep into how to do this in Worthy. And it's so powerful because it literally will change everything. So the 4 R's are reveal, redefine, revisit, and revel. And let me explain them to you. We're going to do them right now together, okay? I'll take you through just really, really high level, but we go really deep into how to do this in all areas of your life in the book. So the first is reveal. So, okay, I'm going to ask you a super, super honest question, and I want you to be so honest with the answer. And don't even think too much about it. Just the first thing that comes to you. When you imagine yourself getting rejected or failing at something, what is the first thought you have? What's the very first thought? Right? The very first thought. And it helps sometimes to imagine yourself being rejected or put yourself in a situation where something just fails that you really hoped would work. What's the very first thought you have that goes through your mind, sometimes without even realizing it? And now I want you to write that down, okay? For so many of us, anytime I ask a group of people this and then they shout out their answer, the things I hear the most often are, I'm not enough. I should have even tried. I don't have what it takes. I'm unqualified. Why'd I even think I could? I'm an idiot. I'm stupid. I mean, some of the things people share, I'm like, whoa, right? For me, most of my life, every time I got rejected or failed at something, my first thought was, yep, there's proof I'm not enough. Yep, there's proof again, I'm not enough. Over and over and over. And that, whatever your first thought you just had, that you just wrote down, that is your current definition of rejection and failure. That's your current definition of rejection and failure. And so I want you to take note of that, okay? Because here's the deal, is if that definition is painful, and there's a good chance it is, we think it subconsciously and we don't even realize, but we want to avoid that pain at all costs. And so if your current definition of rejection or failure is something like, I'm not enough, I shouldn't have even tried, yeah, I always fail, people like me don't have good things happen to it, like whatever that definition is, if it's painful for you, it is likely a big reason why you're staying stuck in some areas of your life. So that is the reveal, which is your current definition. Now, what I learned to do many years ago, early on in building my company, is I learned to actually redefine the meaning I gave to rejection or failure when they happen in my life to one that's inspiring. And then every time a rejection or failure would happen, I would catch my brain going right to that old thought of I'm not enough, and I would intercept it, replace it with this new definition that I believe to be true. That's the key. The new one has to be something empowering, inspiring, but that you believe to be true, okay? And I'd replace it with that new definition, and slowly but surely, it helped me fear rejection less, embrace it more, become more resilient, and keep going for things. So here's how this happened in my life. I'm going to share with you. So I was in a season of getting so much rejection, not knowing how my business wasn't going to go under. It was everyone around me was saying, I don't believe in you, or I don't think this is going to work, or any of these things, right? And one day I was so down, I was literally crying under my covers after another really painful rejection from QVC, which I'd always dreamed of going on, right, my whole life. And then when I launched the business, I was like, oh, this is gonna be perfect. I'm gonna show my products on live television for 100 million homes and prove they work. And I just knew it was gonna happen. And I was manifesting it, praying about it, all the things. And after sending them products for years and always hearing no, I finally got on the call with the head of all beauty, the whole beauty division there. And he said, no, you're not the right fit for us or for our customers. It's unanimous across all of our buyers. It's a no. It was such a painful rejection at the time. And I just was crying. And I remember Googling at that moment, every person I admired most who had changed the world, every thought leader, every person who would help move humanity forward to become a force for good and a force for love in the world, every business leader who had built iconic companies. And y'all, every person I Googled, I realized, oh my gosh, they've had countless rejections and failures in their lives. They're just the brave ones willing to keep going anyways. And that day, I wrote out this new definition. Rejection or failure does not mean I'm not enough. Rejection or failure means I'm one of the brave ones willing to go for it. Like, I'm not going to be a person sitting on the sidelines of life living in regret that I'm stuck and never go for it. Every rejection or failure, I'm going to go, oh, this rejection, this failure is a victory. It means I'm one of the brave ones willing to be going for it, right? And I believe that to be true, okay? That's the key. I know it to be true. So what I started doing is each time another rejection, another naysayer, another setback, another, critic, another person saying, your business is never going to make it. Every time that would happen, of course, right? My neural pathways in my brain, they're carved deep for all of us. It would first want to go to that old thing saying I'm not enough, but I would catch it, I'd intercept it, and I would instantly go, oh, this is amazing. I just got rejected. You know why? It's another reminder. I am one of the brave ones willing to go for it. This is amazing. And I started actually associating, I'm not even kidding, associating positive, empowering, inspiring meaning to rejection. Another one, another definition I wrote out was rejection is God's protection. And I believe that to be true. And for you, it may be rejection's God's protection. It may be rejection's the universe's protection, right? Whatever speaks true to your soul. And every time I would get a rejection that just didn't make sense, right? Like somebody maybe just, I don't know, betrayed my trust or just didn't see my value or, or whatever it might be. I put myself out there and, to a new friend group and said, oh, can I join everyone's weekly coffee or whatever it might be, right? And we all get rejections like this all the time. And every time it started happening when that rejection didn't make sense, I would always say, rejection's God's protection. And I would trust it. There was a really painful rejection I got once with a potential investor who I thought was going to save our company. And he, in the very end, after so many meetings and presentations, in the very end, he said, it's a no, we're going to pass on investing in cosmetics. And when I asked him why, he was really quiet for a long time and eventually said, do you want me to be really honest with you? And I said, yes, please. And he said, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And for me in that moment, in that particular rejection, I never felt any anger toward him. I instantly felt a lifelong, my body flooded with self-doubt, body doubt, a lifetime of body doubt, right? So I felt like my own fear, it looked like I was staring my own fear straight in the eye when I was hearing this from him. And I went and cried in my car after. But then I remember just making this decision that this rejection does not mean my business isn't going to make it. Rejection is God's protection. So I don't know why, but God's protecting me from something right now. And I believe that in my soul, right? That was the moment, that particular rejection, I decided to assign that meaning to it. Well, fast forward 6 years later, and by the way, let me just say this. At the time, I didn't know how my business was going to make it. I was so desperate. I probably would have given him the majority of the whole company for nothing, right? Just to try and make sure our company stayed alive. Because he did not believe in me 6 years later, when my business had grown and grown and grown and grown, we had over 1,000 employees, and L'Oreal bought my business for over $1 billion cash. It was the first time I heard from him, that potential investor, in over 6 years. He said, "Congratulations on the L'Oreal deal. I was wrong." And it reminded me so much of that movie Pretty Woman, where they wouldn't help her in the store. Remember that? And then she goes back in. And what I wanted to say to him at the time was, big mistake. Huge, huge. I can give you 1.2 billion reasons why it was a huge mistake. But I didn't. I kept it classy. But I remember, y'all, in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh. Had he believed in me then, I would have given him the majority of the company for almost nothing just to stay alive. And all of a sudden, 6 years later, when I sold the business, I was still the largest shareholder. Paulo and I were still the largest shareholders, my husband, right? So I'm like, okay, rejection is God's protection. And sometimes we don't see why it's happening. And so I want to bring this up because when you're in a moment of rejection, we have choices. We can say to ourselves, oh, this means I'm not enough, or I'm never going to make it, or we can use those old painful definitions. But when we have new definitions that we replace the old ones with every time it happens, we start to build resiliency. We start to actually become fearless toward rejection and failure. And that's what happened for me. And I just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going because I didn't fear it anymore. I didn't fear rejection or failure anymore. And I believe it is one of the keys on how I built the business. Otherwise, so many of us are tempted to give up after one rejection or 20 or 30, right? And so I think revealing your current one, but then redefining it is so huge, right? It's so huge. And it's so easy to do. I mean, another one is I was adopted. I was placed into adoption the day I was born. And growing up, I had the best parents who loved me so much, but they worked a lot. I was always alone. And I went through as an adult, finding out I was adopted and then kind of just processing all of it. I went through a long season of feeling like abandonment. You know, like, oh, my parents worked all growing up. I was always alone. I was always abandoned. Or, oh, you know, I was placed into adoption. I was abandoned. So I kind of had this narrative. And I decided one day, oh, I used this tool in my own personal life. I'm like, oh, I wasn't abandoned. I was chosen. Like, I was chosen by my birth mom to carry me. Her life probably would have been way easier if she didn't. I was chosen by God to come into this world. I was chosen by my adopted parents to raise me. I was chosen. And I made the decision to believe that. It changes everything, right? So the first R is to reveal your current definition. For me, it's, oh yeah, I'm not enough, right? And then the second R is to replace it with that new empowering definition. So you can use 1, 2, 3, 4, many new redefined empowering definitions. And then the third step is to revisit. And what this means is if there is a painful rejection in your past or failure, maybe many, and you've been hanging on to them as if they define who you are or are some indication of your worth, you can actually revisit past rejections, realize what is the meaning I've been assigning to those, and redefine the past rejection. This is huge. And for a lot of us, it is just liberating and so powerful. So one of my favorite ways to do this, my favorite revisiting, redefinitions is I often will think of, and maybe this has happened to you even recently, somebody who betrayed your trust or didn't show up for you like you wish they did, or pulled the rug out from underneath you, didn't see your value, broke your heart, you know, any of these things, the job you applied for and you don't know why, but you didn't get it. I revisit these rejections and even now when they happen to this day, my favorite definition to give them is this. I literally will imagine my creator. I will imagine God saying to me, oh, you weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny. And I believe it, y'all. I will believe it. So even right now, if I have a friend betray my trust or somebody just pulls the rug out from underneath me or, you know, or I get rejected or I don't get the thing I'm hoping for or I'm not invited to the party, or, a friend has a big event and doesn't have me speak, or whatever it might be. I just think to myself, or an in-law who I don't know why, no matter what I do, I don't feel like they value me, right? It doesn't matter what example, we all have these examples in our life every single day. Instead of feeling rejected and, like I don't belong and fit in, I literally make the decision to believe and imagine God saying to me, oh, no, you weren't rejected. I hid your value from them because they're not assigned to your destiny. And that helps me embrace anytime someone rejects me, right? It helps me look at past rejections and just have this trust that God was just hiding my value from them because they're not assigned to my destiny, right? And no matter what you believe, having that kind of faith is huge because, again, it helps you build resiliency, helps you fear, potential or future rejections or setbacks or failures, and helps you get unstuck and go for them. Because again, and I go deep into Worthy on how to do this, but we can manifest all day long and pray and do all the things. But if deep down inside, we associate so much pain with potentially failing at him, or we believe we're a failure, and deep down inside, we don't believe we're worthy of the thing, we can manifest, pray, work hard, go after it, get all the skills all day long, we still won't go for it. We'll still stay stuck or we'll still sabotage it. Learning to believe you are worthy and learning to redefine and change your relationship with rejection and failure changes everything. So the final R is revel. Revel in the fact that you are fearless when it comes to potential rejection and failure. And I have to say that, I did a lot of things wrong, building at cosmetics, made so many mistakes. And then now in my life, every single day, there's a whole lot of things I'm working on, right? I believe in the power of being a lifelong student. I believe that this is a lifelong journey, especially of building. Like why I wrote Worthy is because in life, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. And learning to build that unshakable self-worth inside, which is very different than self-confidence. Self-confidence can fluctuate based on everything going on around us, but self-worth is deep, it's internal, it's unshakable. And learning how to raise that self-worth, it is a lifelong journey. And so the fourth R, though, is reveling in the fact that you no longer fear rejection or failure. At this point in my life, I am growing in a lot of areas, working hard to improve in a lot of areas, but I will say I'm pretty fearless when it comes to rejection or failure. Doesn't faze me. I literally believe all those definitions I shared with you and many more. So this becomes a tool in your toolbox on how to build self-worth, how to, build resilience, on how to get unstuck and go for the things that you are put on this earth and called to do. Because here's the thing, self-doubt kills more dreams than almost anything else. And there are so many moments in my life where I came so close to doubting myself out of my own destiny. No more, no more. And this is one of the tools I found that's just life-changing in so many areas.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage,
Jamie Kern Lima! Baby Kern Lima!
Every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.